But do you see? So the Gen Zs are slowly starting to move into the world of work. Do you see this shaping how they show up in the world, what they expect of companies, and certainly they're probably thinking about careers very differently to, say, millennials, Gen X, and the boomers?
Well, definitely, because, we've seen from a millennial workforce that came in, sort of how that sort of changed it. It didn't really dent too much the kind of corporate structures, because that was it. You try to fit in and slot in, with that. Yeah. With digital natives of Gen Zs, plus a pandemic, becomes a very, very powerful, potent force to be reckoned with, because the way in which businesses now have to operate plays exactly into the lifestyles and the tech capabilities and the understandings of how to do things very, very differently with Gen Z. So, I'm not saying that the millennials didn't know how to do that, but even if you look at the different generations, even millennials, if you look at social media platforms, they were all sort of spawned between 2003, 2005. So even millennials, while very proficient in that technology, still had to adapt to it. With Gen Z, it's from the word go, that was the lifestyle. And what I always say to people, and specifically our corporate clients who do insurance, and especially about rewards, and then you look at a linear career, and it's just I've used these slides so often that I can't take them out, because I know if I do a talk when we used to do physical talks, all the cameras come out and take that, so you leave the slide on longer. But it's about a linear career, about university, school, university, work, retire, die. Kind of, that was the thing. And then the next slide is just a zigzag of all over the place, with mini sabbaticals, further learning, change lanes into different sectors. And I think what not only is this pandemic going to do is going to start us to think, well, what I really want out of life. So I know it's what you're doing in the academy is also the sort of more of the self-actualization. I think there's a lot of deep introspection that we're having during lockdown. So that's a good thing. And then secondly is just, I think what all Gen Zs know how to do is there will always be a side hustle. You might have a 9-to-5 job, but there's going to be a side hustle. And what this pandemic has taught all of us is you're going to have a side hustle, because your income's not there. So people are making masks, people are becoming innovative themselves. So that's going to translate into that workplace. And I'd be very, very surprised if that doesn't bubble up, or if it doesn't bleed into whatever culture that company has. If it has, then I would quite confidently say that there's a timeline on that company, because if you're going to be that rigid and you're not going to change with all of this evidence in front of you, then...
And I've heard in a specific company where employees were told, well, you were not retrenched, so you better be grateful. And I expect 150%, from you right now. Yeah. So it's that command and control and ownership that just, it doesn't seem to make any sense. You're not going to get the best out of people if you're bucking the trend.
Especially for any corporate people listening to this, and anybody specific in HR, when millennials first entered the workforce, all you were getting is like, oh, we can't retain them. There's such a quick churn. It's a two-year kind of churn. Well, with Gen Z, that's just going to be exacerbated and enhanced, because I tell, especially commercial brands as well, I say, look at that generation in two ways. It's a two-pronged attack on your company. They're your customer. And if your brand is not vocal or visual about your brand values, they're not going to give you the very rare brand loyalty that is so scant at the moment. If they're not going to give you brand loyalty, they're sure as hell not going to come and work for you. And every company is going to want, in the next 5 years, they're going to want new, young, fresh blood coming in with good ideas, tech proficiency, all of those kind of things, creativity, teamwork, all of those kind of things. And they're not going to be able to attract that talent that they want if the mindset is still stuck in that, like you said, a command kind of and control mindset of, no, you're in this hierarchy, you can't speak up, you can't have that speak up culture within there. These are all big fundamentals that corporates are going to have to learn. And it's going to be a hard lesson to learn, I think. of them, because it's not the normal kind of behavior.
Correct. And I think there's still some people who view even this conversation as a luxury because they're, much more pressing issues right now. But I think what you say is to ignore it would be foolish. I mean, I've got students in my academy right now who say, it defies logic. Why would I work for one company? The one guy, he's a self-taught kind of tech genius in the making. And he studies all types of technologies. So he's like, well, why would I then give time to one person when I can be solving problems for a variety of people? So he's definitely thinking freelance, side hustle type of vibe for a time and then move to that.
So just two things on that, Suki, because you touched on a really important one there, is specifically with generation, with a very high social justice barometer. It is exactly that. It's solution-based innovation.
Yes.
So how can I help more people than just the shareholders of a corporation?
Yes.
That it doesn't translate into helping a community. It just increases the profits of that company and gives the shareholders. So that's a big fundamental thing within that. And then also I say to those corporate insurance clients, is like, and I always start and say, so who of you have got kids in the audience? So you kind of lead them into the trap very quick, very slowly. They go, yeah. Who's got teenagers? Yes. And you give a few behaviors, they all nod their heads. So I said, and then especially if it's HR and especially if it's kind of corporate insurance, I say, tell me, who in the room honestly believes that your son or daughter is going to come into a corporation and work in that same company for 20 to 30 years and wait for a pension to go? That era has gone long time ago. And best you start recalibrating for this kind of, I mean, they think it's schizophrenic. I just say you've got to get used to a concept of a career portfolio.
Yes.
It's not one trajectory. It is juggling a career portfolio and to kind of ease parents, because I speak to a lot of parents who get like nervous and it's like, my child must go into university straight away. I'm like, just please don't do that. Just, it's not, it's not going to end. It's going to end in tears. And I'm going to say, just think about it. Is that career portfolio means that whatever skills your child starts picking up, and they can be very varied as well, they don't have to be within the same sector, in the same lane, is going to allow them to jump from sector to sector, and they will land up in sectors that they never imagined they're going to work for, because that's the nature of where business is going. There's just hybrid skills, and things are breaking up all the time, and boundaries are being blurred. So you could end up, as a gamer in healthcare or something like that. You absolutely have no idea where you can.
Yeah,
that's where we go.
And animation goes way beyond movies as well. I mean, just the skill of animators. There's a school that I'm aware of somewhere in Johannesburg, and they're doing the most incredible work with animation in business, right? And then layer that with gaming. So for those, really future-facing type of companies, the ability to build multidisciplinary teams and using like a hybrid skills, like you said, that are transferable in any environment and in any sector, is exactly what this generation brings to the table. If only we would lower those barriers of entry and I suppose get over ourselves that you have to earn the right to speak based on your number of years of experience and time served. It just, for me anyway, it seems to defy all logic. So in closing, Dion, what would you then, or what would you say are the emerging skills that people should be focused on? What have your trends revealed in your research?
I'm going to go a bit esoteric here, because actually the biggest skill is actually not a fixed mindset. I mean, that's really on the bottom line is do not have a fixed mindset and idea. I mean, I've been kind of coaching a family friend, and she's not sure about this. And I was like, if you're not sure, then why are you doing it? You're not feeling it. And she's like, oh, because it's to make the parents happy. I mean, I'm like, you're doing this all for the wrong the wrong reasons, and you should be doing, other things. So yeah, that didn't end up too well with the parents. The other thing I want to say is that for institutions of learning or universities, whether it's secondary or tertiary, is that when they have a careers day, it is more for the parents to go to change their mindset than actually for the kids to open their scope of what they do. Because go back to Gen Z again, your first digital natives, they know all of the stuff because the information sourcing is so different to what a Gen X or baby boomers way of receiving information. You had to go out and find it. For this generation, the information comes to them. Whether it's porn, whether it's ISIS, whether it's cyberbullying, it is piped directly into their phones, and they are at the front lines of this. I mean, they understand all of that kind of stuff. So, even when media started going digital, the big thing with younger millennials was the news finds me. I don't go and look for the news. It will find me. And the same with general information. It's going to come and it's going to find you. And I think the parents are more the people that actually need the education of what is possible and what is the new world order and what the potential of their young charges really, really are. It's unimaginable, but you keep putting them into boxes. And if you just think about the schooling system that we are all being pushed through like a sausage factory, was spawned in the 19th century, and it's like an industrial era. It was also, you think about the timekeeping, the different classes, all of that. Why do we all put everyone in the same age? So as they called it, you group everybody by their sell-by date, or best before date.
Right.
And it's true. We all develop at different levels. We develop better, as solo. We develop better in a group. We develop different in different spheres and different interests and everything. But the schooling system puts everybody into this little compartment, and you've got to kind of conform. And if you don't conform,
I love how you've summed up kind of the new world order, specifically through the lens of a Gen Z, calling them very issues driven. So they're going to be expecting that companies are putting their values at the forefront. They are very much attached to cause and impact and ethics and reducing inequality and all of that. And they don't understand the concept of linearity. And therefore, they're going to package their careers by way of, grouping their interests and giving those interests to the world in a non-linear fashion, and therefore a portfolio career. And I think the previous generations in the workforce have a completely different framing, and that is why a tension between generations would exist. But hopefully what COVID will do is not level the playing field, but at least allow for conversation to happen between the generations so that we can start extracting value that reshapes the businesses that we have, the kind of careers that we can imagine that we need, and therefore start breeding the kind of skills that move everybody forward.
Yes, no, absolutely. I think, my favorite quote that's come out of this was from the author Arundhati Roy, and, she said, this pandemic is a portal. You can walk through the portal with your old dead ideas, or you can walk lightly and bring fresh ideas. And I think it's starting to dawn on people. And I think the longer the lockdown continues, which it will, is the forced introspection, whether it's on a personal level, whether it's on a business level, is going to be a very, very good thing, because we're not going to go back to doing the things the same way. We can't do the things the same way. We're being forced not to do it anyway. How willing are you going to be to get on that next flight without a mask and it's full? It's like, I'm really going to double think all of those kind of things. And it's a groundbreaking or a watershed kind of moment to say, how do we do things a little bit differently? And for parents out there as well as leaders is, look at that potential and look at it through a very, very diverse lens. I think we've been looking at things in a very blinkered way of things, and now it's time to open those blinkers and just welcome that innovation in and say yes.
Perfect. And your last piece of advice to a career professional who may have to reinvent themselves. Somebody who's been in one company for 15 years in the same specialized skill for 15 years. What would you say to somebody like that?
Is become curious again. Move out of a comfort zone. That's the best thing to do. Is just learn something. We've understood now during the pandemic. There's so much stuff online. You can do a lot of learning. There's a lot of interest. Follow those interests and passions of what you want to do, and that's the starting point. As we just said, before, is this. You might actually find that your skill set, you don't have to completely do a short lift or a complete reinvention, but actually that skill set might be airlifted out there and then plonked into a different sector, which you didn't realize. So go slowly with those kind of just feelers and say, but if I do this, then maybe if I'm just doing accounting, but maybe I love, the film world or advertising, then maybe I do that there. Why do I have to stay within a law firm or do that? So your first changing of lanes can be just like a gradual one before you get to the autobahn and the speed lane. But then just be curious and just know that it's never too late to have that career portfolio. So and keep juggling the career portfolio.
Multiple things, because we're multidimensional beings. And thank God that this era is allowing us to see that it's actually the human skills that need to come to the forefront. And the only way that's going to happen is if people introspect and dig out of themselves the value, the interest, the curiosity, the ability to collaborate with people and to see things through different or multiple lenses. So that's why I'm very excited.